Welcome to the A-List podcast. I'm Kwani A. Lunis, joined by Sherrod Blakely. We are preparing for Game 3 of the NBA Finals. NBA Finals are back in Boston after hiatus. That's exciting.
More than a decade. It's a little more than a hiatus. Little more.
I try to be nice about it. Since 2010. So how are we feeling about the Celtics? They're obviously tied in the series right now, 1-1 with the Warriors. What will their response be in Game 3?
Well, it better be better than Game 2. That's for damn sure. That doesn't mean they will win, but it definitely needs to be better. And I think a big part of their success is just attitude. I mean, I thought that Golden State, we can talk about the physicality that Golden State brought in Game 2, which was much better than what we saw in Game 1. But mentally, Golden State punked them. Golden State had a mental edge that they just absolutely sliced and diced the Celtics up with. And obviously Draymond Green had a lot to do with that. But you start looking at guys like Jordan Poole was kind of feeling himself. He went from being in the kiddie pool to having his own little splash party in Game 2. And you start looking at, they got Gary Payton, the third back. And you start going down the line of their role players. And for the most part, they all gave them a major lift, similar to what the Celtics got from their role players in Game 1. So I definitely expect a better game by the Celtics. And I do expect the Celtics to win Game 3. It's very consistent what they've been able to do in the playoffs. And I just think that this series is really going to be more like a tennis match than a basketball game, where both teams are kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And if you're the Celtics, you just hope at the end of the day that you're the last team standing. But this is what you got to do if you're trying to knock off the champ. And even though they're not the defending champ, if you're talking about the best teams of this decade or the last decade plus, it's the Golden State Warriors. So I'm looking forward to Game 3.
Yeah, the Celtics need to come correct, and one person that definitely needs to do that is Tatum. His shooting has not been to the level of expectation. Do you think the pressure is too much in the sense of the way we talk about how he needs to be the superstar, or is there just something off overall?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think you look at the Golden State Warriors and how they're defending him, and I believe they are taking a page out of the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks playbook. It seems that undersized, strong, bullish guards they give Tatum some problems. Tatum's not as comfortable. Like, you look at Wesley Matthews in Milwaukee, you look at Gabe Vincent and Victor Oladipo in Miami, and now you're looking at guys like Gary Payton, who is giving him some fits. Guys that typically are not necessarily, other than Payton. Payton's a great defender, but those other guys were pretty average. Maybe with Victor, maybe slightly above average. But Tatum doesn't seem to be comfortable with when he's being guarded by those guys. So the Celtics, I think they need to do a better job of matchup hunting against this Golden State team and finding the matchups that work best for Tatum. But certainly the undersized guard, that's part of it. And the other part of it is just Tatum, and we've seen this. He goes through these stretches where he just can't make shots. And it's not even anything the defense is doing per se. It's just that he's just not into a flow of rhythm. I think he will be in a rhythm in Game 3. I think Game 3 is going to be his best game of the series up to this point. He has not shot the ball well in either Games 1 or 2, but at least in Game 1, he had 13 assists, which was the most assists for any player in NBA history, in their very first NBA Finals game. So he had that going for him. But I do think Tatum is going to be a little more aggressive offensively, look for his shot more, and I think we'll see it go down with a little bit more consistency than we saw in Games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I heard this quote from Colin Cowherd, and I know a lot of the media pundits like to just say things to say things, but I want to hear what you think about this. He said Jayson Tatum is a star with a role player's confidence, which I do agree to an extent, because there has been this level of him not elevating to the point of the superstar that he's supposed to be for this Boston Celtics team. But I don't think the confidence isn't there. The way he talks in postgame, he's very reflective on the fact that they have been turning over the ball a lot, and not, he hasn't been making shots the way he wants to. I don't necessarily agree with the quote fully, but I just wanted to hear what do you think about it? I thought it was pretty interesting, to say the least.
I don't think confidence is Tatum's issue. I think he's got plenty of that and then some to work with. I think for him, it's just a matter of really embracing who his identity is as a player. I think he has struggled in figuring out exactly what is his identity. I think ultimately, when all is said and done, Tatum is going to be an elite two-way player. When you look at his length, you look at his versatility, you look at his lateral quickness, you look at his ability to score at all levels, he has all the ingredients of being an exceptional two-way talented player. And defensively, I know he doesn't get a ton of credit for what he does defensively. If you watch him play more times than not, he's in pretty damn good position. He'll have his lapses where he'll just be in the middle of nowhere mentally and just be out of position. But for the most part, Tatum's a good defender. And I think for him, the next level is becoming a great defender. And that means bringing it at that end of the floor, night in and night out, which is hard to do when so much of the attention offensively is paid to what you can do and specifically what you can create for others. So I think Tatum, confidence-wise, is in good shape. That's like one of the least concerns I have with him. And I think, frankly, it's one of the least concerns Tatum has with himself. Confidence is not an issue. Consistency and understanding who he is, what's his identity, I think those are bigger issues.
So I want to address two more big highlighted issues for the Celtics in game 2, the turnovers. What do we make of them? How do the Celtics protect the ball more?
Woo! And the crazy part about them and them damn turnovers is that so many of them weren't forced. So many of them were just like them literally shooting themselves in the foot. And that, in theory, is easy to clean up because it's just literally a matter of you just paying a little bit closer attention to detail to what you're doing and you don't turn the ball over that much. But it's disturbing when you give up that many damn points. 33 points off of turnovers. So that means that they scored 74. You gave up 74 points by your defense, which most times is going to be enough. And as far as points off turnovers, 15 is kind of a ballpark number that you're looking to give up. So basically, they in theory held this team to less than 90 points if you throw in a typical points off turnover game and what they actually scored. And that more times than not is going to be enough to win. And that's why I'm not nearly as concerned about them going in game 3 as I think a lot of people are, because it's really simple. If you keep the unforced turnovers, because Golden State's going to force you to make some, but it's the ones that they don't force you to make that you make are the killers. And if they can keep those down, I think the Celtics have a very, very good chance of going up 2-1 in this series with a chance to really put Golden State up against the wall in game 4.
The final, I think, bigger concern is the fact that the bench wasn't very productive in game 2. Total of 6 points. Not the bench. The starters were a total of 6 points, but the bench was, I wouldn't say they were that productive as well. But overall, are we concerned about the fact that Al, Rob, and Smart were not able to help Jalen and Jayson?
Yeah, that's really bad when outside of your 2 J's, you got 6 points. You got 6 points more than you and I scored.
I could have scored 6, I think.
No, you couldn't.
Put me at the line. I could get you 6.
Maybe from the free throw line, you might get 6. But yeah, I mean, when you have 3 of your 5 starters only score 6 points total, and previously they had combined in game 1 for like 58 points. So there's a dramatic difference, and you don't expect them to necessarily score at the same clip they did in game 1, but you expect more than some damn 6 points. I mean, you should be getting more than 6 points in a quarter from those guys combined, let alone a game. So I think there is some concern about that if you're the Boston Celtics, because it's just not normal where 3/5 of your starting lineup has that type of game offensively. But the thing about the Celtics is they've shown the ability and a certain resiliency to bounce back emphatically. And again, I anticipate in game 3 that they will be a much better team than what we saw in game 2. And I do believe, I think they're going to play well enough to win game 3. Now, after that, it gets a little interesting.
But with Rob, I do want to talk about him a little bit more. He's been on the injury report every game. He ends up being available right before tip. But should Celtics fans be concerned about the fact that he's clearly playing through a lot of pain right now?
Yeah, I think they do. I'm concerned about Rob because the pain that he's dealing with is keeping him, not only does it keeping him off the floor at times, but it's also when he is on the floor, it's hard for him to get a rhythm. And even though you don't have to give him a bunch of touches to be impactful, if he's a little bit unsure of what he needs to do, he's not going to be playing above the rim as well as he should. He's not going to be posting up guys and beasting, little guards that Golden State has the way he should. He's going to be a little bit, I think, timid and trepid in his actions, and that's not good. I think at some point, unless he makes significant improvement, they have to think long and hard about sitting him for a game or so and going with Al and Tice and just kind of let it rock and roll like that. But the Celtics, they definitely have some decisions to make as far as who to play, when to play, and all that kind of stuff. Because right now, even though the series is tied up and they're back in their building, they have no reason to be comfortable or confident that what they are doing is necessarily going to work as it is drawn up at this point. So, hey there. We got a little Gary Washburn sighting in the building. What's up, G?
Thanks for joining us, Gary. We were just talking about Robert Williams and the fact that he's been available right before tip of every game. Do you think there should be concern about the fact that he's clearly injured right now?
No, because it sounds like he's not making any worse, and they're just going to run him out there until he's not useful anymore. I think that's just the way it's going to be for the entire series. I mean, if he plays 19 to 20 minutes, but he seems to be responding to the rest, but obviously after prolonged stretches, and I think, he had a collision with Marcus Smart in game 2, and he may say he's a little scared, but it didn't do any more damage and it didn't cause any more pain. So, I mean, this is the Robert Williams they're going to get. I mean, now I don't think he's going to get any healthier during the playoffs. And would they rest him for a game to make him well for another or something? Or would they play him games 3 and 4, but then rest him for game 5 to get him ready for game 6? I mean, that's yet to be determined. But as far as what they say, and I'm hearing, is that he's okay, and that essentially this is what they're going to get.
Yeah, this is what they're going to get. I'm really nervous about Rob because it feels like Groundhog's Day with him, where he goes out there, he plays well for a few minutes, something happens where he's in pain, he goes back to the bench, and then we're on pins and needles for the next 24 or 48, 72 hours, wondering if he's going to play or not. All indications that rest is what he needs. That ain't what he's going to get. Even when he has a few days off, it doesn't seem like it's nearly enough to kind of fully power him up to being the player he is capable of being. But look, the bottom line with Rob is that he's out there trying to go to work. And one of our good friends, Indeed.com, is all about helping you go to work. No one has a business like yours. You like that, Corny, huh? Yeah, I see it. Gary likes it too. He just don't want to show me no love. But Indeed.com does have love for your boy, and I have love for them. No one has a business like yours with all its strengths and challenges to succeed. You need a hiring partner that adapts to your needs. You need Indeed. Indeed is a hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills. Indeed's a powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. And as someone who has been using Indeed.com for a really long time, I can tell you it's an amazing partner to have when you're trying to get a feel for the job landscape, what jobs are out there. And for companies who are looking to hire, you don't want to waste your time just looking at resume after resume. Indeed takes a lot of the guesswork out of the process so that you can get people to get to work. So Indeed.com. And don't forget that start hiring now. You get a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/A-list. That's Indeed.com/A-list. Claim your $75 credit now at, once again, Indeed.com/A-list. Indeed is, again, love them, great partner. That's my teammate. That's my teammate, y'all. So
you're right. Indeed is our teammate. One person, you talk about work and jobs, takes their jobs too seriously. Draymond Green. He has a podcast now, and I feel as though the content that he's creating on the floor is really just content he creates for his podcast. But as you both know, and I'm sure the fans know as well, he's been making some moves and saying some things that are not sitting well with the Celtics organization overall. Do you think this is just a mind game? Is Draymond Green just playing the mental aspect of the game of trying to get into their heads?
I would love to hear what Gary's got to say.
I mean, I think that he's just being Draymond. He talks trash. I think that this is something for years. I think that's been kind of simmering. Like, are Jalen and Jayson tough enough to defend themselves? Like, something concerned me about what Jayson said after game 2, we asked about Draymond. Jalen was visibly pissed about what happened. Jayson was more like, well, that's what I like about him. Like, no, man, it's the finals. Like, I don't want to hear oh, he's a great teammate or we played it. This ain't Team USA. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Like, if he's in your face, you need to get in his face. And Jayson is going to be tested over the years because of his status, because of the fact that he's a top 5, quote unquote, player, all NBA first team player. And he can't be Mr. Nice Guy out there. People ain't out there just trying to hoop. People are going to try to get in your heads. I think Draymond knew and knows, and I'm sure the words, like, the Celtics are not soft, but they're definitely not hard. They're definitely not tough, right? Like, who was their enforcer? Like, with the Heat, you probably say Jimmy Butler, right? Even though he's your star, they had Bobby Portis in Milwaukee, or, their enforcer was PJ Tucker in Miami. Like, is it Smart? Okay, like, is Smart the guy? The question is, they got to stand up and get tougher, and it's got to start now. You can't let Draymond get all up in your head, talking mess and trash and pushing dudes around. If you got to get a tech, as Ime said today, if it were me as a player, I would have gotten a double tech. You got to send a message like, dude, we're not going to thug up this series. It's not going to be the 90s. We're not going to make this all extra physical, and we're not going to do all that. And we'll see what happens in terms of the game being officiated, how it is officiated, if they're going to let Draymond get away with that, if Draymond is going to try some of the same tricks he did in game 2, but they've got to step up and be tougher. Like, they're not kids anymore. And it's Jayson too. Like, Jason's a nice guy. He doesn't talk much. I get that. You don't have to be like, you don't have to tell everybody how great you are and talk mess on the court. But when someone confronts you, you got to be like, dude, you need to get up out my face. Like, I ain't playing that. Like, defend yourself. I'm not talking about Jayson needs to be an enforcer. Jayson needs to be talking the mess first. But when they get in your grill, it's don't be so nice. And Jayson, that's just Draymond. Like, no, hell no. Like, this is the finals. You didn't see when Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas, and this is obviously 30 years ago, they were best friends, kissed each other on the cheek. Then we got to the game. It was hard, like, friendship, Team USA teammates. That's my boy. No. This is where it counts. This is the championship. Like, play like it means everything to you. And that's what the Celtics need to do for the next 5 games. I mean, play like it means everything. Quit being pushed. Don't be pushed around. And it's not like the Warriors got a bunch of thugs. It's just Draymond, okay? Don't let Draymond draw fouls, dictate the game, all that he did in the first quarter. Like, push him back, and they didn't. And then, Jalen sort of did, but Jalen got psyched out by that second foul on Gary Payton. It was never the same. Jayson wants to play Mr. Nice Guy too much. He just wants the ball. That's great. We all just want a ball. But someone gets in your face, you've got to defend yourself. I mean, someone comes up and says something about you or one of your family members. You don't want that to happen, but you've got to turn around and be like, excuse me, what did you just say? Like, you can't be like, well, let's just not do any, let's not, hopefully he won't say anything else. No, like there's certain times where you got to step up and be big grown man. This is a big grown man series. The Warriors just let them know that in game 2.
Yeah, this is Draymond has, I don't know whether he rented space or whether he bought space in their heads, but he's in there. He is definitely in their heads.
Got a couch and everything.
Exactly. Got a house, lawn, 2.5 kids, dog, got the whole shebang. But here's the thing about Draymond, and there's a certain you got to understand that Draymond, this is, the anger that he expresses and the way that he's able to get under skins, it is 100% calculated. It's 100% him focused in on what can I do to get a mental edge and advantage over this team. And because Draymond knows that if it becomes a game of skill, he's not going to do well against the Celtics or any team. So what can he do to tilt the balance of power in his favor? And it's mental warfare. He comes at guys like no one else does. The whole brouhaha with Jalen, where he grabbed his shorts, had his feet on his chest, gave Jalen a little push in the back. All that stuff is part of the plan. That's the plan. The plan is to frustrate you. And to me, the Celtics have to realize when Draymond picks up that first tech, you need to put the onus on the officials to make a call. Like if he gets in your face, you get up in his grill, like nose to nose, dare him to do something to you. Because at that point, the officials, you got one or two choices. You either look like bigger punks than you are and don't call anything, or you actually follow the rule book that you are supposed to be enforcing in the game. That was with a lot of the frustration I think a lot of people had with game 2. I did not have an issue with the physicality that Golden State brought to the game. In fact, I enjoyed it. I love the fact that guys were getting smacked around both sides of the court. But there are certain moments in the game where Draymond crosses that line, and it's obvious to anyone and everyone who watches. And these officials act that because he picked up an early tech, we can't do anything about it. So in other words, he owned you, NBA. He's basically giving you the middle finger to your rule book, saying, I'm gonna pick up a tech, and then I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to after I pick up that tech, and you're not gonna do nothing about it, punks. He's literally mean mugging, mushing the face of the NBA after he picks up the tech. Like, you're not gonna do nothing to me, boy. And the Celtics are looking at this like, and y'all calling us for like a reaching foul? Y'all calling us for like and he's literally mushing you all game. At some point, there's going to be an official in this series who's going to catch so much heat because he's actually going to enforce the rules. We saw that with Porzingis. I believe it was last year where he picked up a second time for just simply making a motion with a little air fist after he didn't agree with the call. It was his second tech. And you're thinking around like, he got thrown out for literally not hurting anyone, not directing his anger at anyone other than just air. And Draymond puts his feet in Jalen's chest, gives him a nudge in the back, and then yanks on his shorts. But that's a common foul? What the hell is that common? Tell me that's common.
Enforcer was for the Celtics, and Scott Foster is that guy for the league. So best believe he's gonna be put in there. Him or Tony Brothers.
Well, Zach Zarba is coming. He's that Scott Foster seat can't be hot forever. But the other thing too I hate about all this is that we spend more time talking about officiating than I ever like to, because I still think the Celtics, based on the way they play, would have lost game 2. But you cannot look at that game from a big picture standpoint and not recognize the fact that there was a definite, not just a discrepancy, but just an inequality about the way it was officiated. They let things slide that they normally don't. It wasn't they missed the call. They just chose not to make the call. There's a difference between missing a call and just deliberately choosing not to make a call. And they're guilty of that. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, I don't want to talk about officiating anymore, damn it.
Yeah, we're good. No more officiating until something happens next game where we have to talk about it. Let's look ahead to game 3. Steph Curry and his scoring and his defense. Let's just look at Steph Curry's game for a second. How has he improved from the last time the Warriors were in the finals, and why should the Celtics maybe be a little more concerned or less concerned?
Well, he put away the easy pass on defense, so that's a start. Because everyone seemed to have the easy pass going through him really in game one. And really
it's not improved in that area.
Yeah, but I thought he gave great effort in game two. I thought he made things I wouldn't say difficult, but he did not leave guys as wide open as we saw him in game one. And so that's a definite positive. But at the end of the day, he gets buckets, point blank, pure and simple. That's what he does. That's why he's a two-time MVP. That's why he's arguably the greatest shooter in NBA history. And when a guy is that dynamic a player, you have to just really mix up your coverage. You can't just give him a steady diet of Marcus Smart or a steady diet of Jaylen Brown. You got to throw in a little Peyton Pritchard every now and then. You got to throw in a little, Jayson Tatum from time to time. You have to try your best to keep him from getting into any kind of comfort zone, which is, again, easier said than done. But, Steph, he's going to get his points. You just want to make him be as inefficient as possible. And I think the Celtics, for the most part, have been able to do that in games 1 and 2.
I think that Celtics would take 29 points on 21 shots as he did in game 2. I thought he was good in game 2, but I don't think he was like amazing. I mean, you're not going to stop him. He's going to get his 25 to 30 points minimum unless he just has a really off shooting night. So your responsibility is to, one, make it tough on him. 2, I don't think that they've done nearly as much in his dribble penetration. He's either creating shots on his own, or he's setting up Kevon Looney at the rim for easy layups. Like, he's literally just kind of doing whatever he wants when he dribbles. The 3-point line has been he's made some contested ones. They've had some slip-ups on coverage, some communication lapses with their switches. Sometimes they're playing that drop coverage, but it's, he was 5 for 12 from 3. You know what? That's okay. Like, you'll take that from Steph because he can go 10 of 12. It's the dribble penetration, and then he's either got someone on his hip or he's taking Robert Williams, and then Robert Williams completely leaves his man alone, and there's Looney for a layup. I think they have to eliminate the easy points for the Warriors. The European guy, Bijalica, came in, played like 8 minutes, had 2 layups because of defensive lapses. Kevon Looney, he doesn't shoot a hook. He's more offensively limited than Robert is, right? So all of his, and Robert's doesn't have much of an offensive game at all besides dunks and layups. So Kevon Looney has scored all at the rim. He was like 6 for 6. It's all at the rim. So you can't give up 8, 10 layups. That's the fundamental problem. You can't give up all these damn layups and expect to win the game. If they hit threes, or if you have that little flurry from Jordan Poole, you know what? Tip your cap, because that kind of stuff does happen. And, Jordan Poole is going to hit threes. He's a good, solid shooter. He's not a great defensive player. But if you're the Celtics, you can't let, here it is, Kevon Looney, 6 for 6 from the field in game 2. Bijalica, 3 for 4. I mean, that's 18 points from 2 guys you don't expect offense from. Gary Payton Jr., 3 for 3. You know what I'm saying? Poole, yeah, he had 17 points on 14 shots. You'll take that. He had 5 threes. Some of them were, garbage time, late. I didn't think he had a good first half. He had a good third quarter. But, Curry was 9 for 21, 5 for 12. He had 29. He was a plus 24. So obviously he's doing work when he's on the floor, and they blew him out. But to me, what bothers me the most is 6 for 6 from Looney, 3 for 4 from Bijalica, and 3 for 3 from Gary Payton Jr. So that is, let me do my math here, 12 for 13 from 3 guys that you don't expect from. So it's sort of like the flip side of game 1 for the Celtics. Those guys can't go 12 for 13 and you expect to win. I mean, they can't hit 12 shots combined. The Warriors hit 39 shots in the game. 12 were from those 3 guys. So they have to be giddy, because Clay was 4 for 19. Wiggins was 4 for 12. Draymond 2 for 3, although he went to the free throw line 7 times. I mean, you can't foul Draymond. You can't let Draymond put 3, 4, 5 fouls in a quarter on you. It's Draymond, not Jimmy Butler, not guys who get to the line. So their whole thing, to me, their whole game plan, their whole approach was terrible in game 2. They didn't defend well enough, nearly well enough. I said, one player over 20 points, and now it's Curry. Okay, I would take 29 points from Curry on 21 shots. It's just the other guys. You cannot let 12 for 13 from the field, all them layups, except Gary Payton Jr. hit that 1-3. Like, that's terrible defense. That can't happen in game 3.
With that being said, who do you both think will be the X factor for the Warriors in game 3?
To me, I think it's Clay. Well, I mean, I don't know how. Like, I'm fascinated to see how Poole does in the environment on the road, because he's a young guy. His first finals. Will he step up and be that number 2 option? And then is Clay going to break out of his slump, or is this who he is? I think everyone's kind of waiting for Clay to have that 10 for 13 game and 6 threes. And you don't want that if you're a Celtic fan, obviously, and then him and Curry going on. And then you got the Splash Brothers back together. I think the Celtics, to me, it's Poole and it's also Thompson. Wiggins is going to be Wiggins. Draymond, I don't think will have the offensive impact he had in game 2. But as I said before, it's Thompson is the X factor to me. But the other guys, you can't let Looney go 6 for 6. Like, that just can't happen.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this Warriors team, to me, it has to be Clay. You're talking about an elite 2-way player who is not elite at either end of the floor right now. I mean, the shots that he's missing are just, what the hell happened to Clay kind of shots? I mean, layups, wide open threes, drives to the basket. And he's not just like missing rim in, rim out. He's missing bad. I mean, he looks like a non-shooter who's trying to shoot. And that's something that I thought I'd never say about Clay. That being said, we know that the ability to knock down shots in a flurry is within him. We've seen him do that time and time again. And that is something that if you're the Celtics, you have to be concerned about. You have to continue to make it so that he does not get comfortable. And again, that's easier said than done, particularly when you're talking about an all-star like Clay, who has distinguished himself as being a very, very, very good 2-way player. But offensively, he's been crap in this series. Defensively, he's been pretty good. But his offense has been so ridiculously bad that, he's making the struggles of Jayson Tatum look pretty damn palatable. If Golden State, if they have any shot of regaining home court advantage, either with winning game 3 or 4, they're going to need to get a little bit more juice out of Clay. They're going to need him to be more impactful than what we've seen, because the Clay that we see now is not helping any team unless that team is trying to get to the lottery. He ain't helping you win because he's not knocking down the shots that he is supposed to knock down.
Well, at this point, all we can do is wait for game 3. At this point, it's almost hours away. So I think we wait and see. We see what goes down for the Celtics and Warriors at the TD Garden, which they've proven that the TD Garden is no longer a home advantage.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Facts. Yeah.
So for Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn, that's the A-List podcast, a preview of game 3. We'll be back. Hopefully, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how the series goes.
Yes, we will. Another shout out to our people, Indeed.com. And let's go to work, y'all. Let's go to work.